right. I got a show right here. We got our guest right here. Say what's up.
Hello! I'm also recording this. You are my guest. So, we're both guests. That means we have no host.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just for my viewers, you know, what I mean, a lot of them may be new. I was actually. It's funny how I got to know you, right? Yeah. I really hadn't. You actually did reach out to me, but I wouldn't really have known about you so much if Nico House didn't have your name in his mouth all the time. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty funny, right? So
It's at
that's how I
least
ended up,
very humorous,
really
yeah?
coming more on my radar. So. Sometimes things have unintended consequences, but why don't you just introduce yourself to my audience?
Well, I am Andrea. My show is called Above It All. It's a daily, 7 days a week political show from 10 a.m. Eastern to noon. So I do 2 hours every single day. I also play video games. I like doing speed runs every now and then, though I don't as much as I used to. Yeah, so I'm, mostly politics. I do some video games to chillax every now and then. And I like to consider myself funny. I like to consider myself charming, and I like to consider myself highly intelligent, and that is not satirical whatsoever.
You got Steam?
I do. I have Steam.
Maybe we'll set up for some co-game action, yeah?
If
Actually, I've been
only if
trying to
it's a
set up
good game.
yeah, I've been trying to set up a game for like all the different co-op games for all the different political organizations. Now
Sure.
the thing is that I represent, I guess I'm an independent operator. I have kind of like aligned myself, I guess, most closely with the Tulsi crowd. But politically, what group would you kind of maybe affiliate with? I see the Antifa flag in the background. Is that your number one thing? Is
I
it the
would say,
Bernie movement?
yeah. I mean, Bernie, sure. Anti-fascism, I think, is a prime directive for me. I consider myself an anarchist, an anarcho-communist, a communist, depending on, who I'm talking to. I like to call myself a communist to trigger, like, Republicans, so. But yeah, that's
So,
kind of my form of thought, very far left.
so you wouldn't put one in front of the other. You wouldn't put like, your anarcho-communism in front of your Bernie, because Bernie's kind of like through the system. Anarcho-communism is may
I
not
think
be.
Bernie is a tool in the toolbox, and my prime organizational principle are the other things. So, like, I considered Bernie to be the far left in the primary process, so that's who I supported. In 2024, if there's a similar, situation, I'll support whoever's most to the left.
Cool. Okay. That's an interesting take. Now, also there's another just at the current time there's a little split on, how people take AOC. For some reason there seems to be some kind of division. Where would you stand on AOC?
I think AOC is a net positive. She's obviously not perfect. I think the idea that people will judge politicians on perfect or terrible, I think, is a little silly. Politicians are not there to solve our problems. They're there to listen to us. And so I think it's kind of silly to expect people like AOC to go in there and magically fix everything, rather than, like, as just an excuse to not do the work. And I feel like a lot of people that do go after AOC are just, they stay home, they're podcasters, they don't do the work, and they just want to have clicks to, like, yell at AOC all day. Whereas I think if you want to yell at AOC for not listening to, like, let's say if there's a strike in her district and she doesn't attend it or she shits on it, yeah, go after her. But if she's not doing what you want from your little podcast bedroom, I'm sorry, I think it's a little bizarre. But I do think she's a net positive.
I think that was excellently said. I really couldn't say better myself. I actually take that role myself, because I am local here to New York City. I do see some of her work, as in terms of, work with the homeless community here and there and stuff like that, isn't really talked about. So, I will give shine to that. And also, I can get more done locally with her, look, I have a lot of powerful enemies as well, like Grace Meng from the DNC causing problems over here. So AOC could be a powerful ally. So that's cool. And it sounds like you're actually, from your words right there, you sound a little bit more politically seasoned, right? Yeah, you've learned to make compromises versus saying, oh, I have this global vision that needs to be enforced. So what kind of brought you to that kind of compromising vision was that something they developed over time, or how'd you get that?
I mean, I like it all. Like, again, I'm not a politician, right? At least not currently. So, like, I will espouse my positions and I will not waver on my positions, right? But like, it's the politician's job to listen to my positions, and then it's their job to compromise. Now again, I can accept that compromise, I can reject that compromise, but at the end of the day, I don't have that much say as an individual person. So as far as like, I'm just like, I guess I'm politically seasoned in that sense. I mean, I don't know, I've only really been active in this scene for like 3 or 4 years. um but
Well,
really
I'll let
it's
me tell you when you came to the forefront, right? Yeah. Now the thing is that in my community,
sure.
because it's kind of like being in Tulsi world a little bit, right? Yeah. I don't have infinite time to watch all the people out there. So yeah, I watch Nico House, I watch Convo Couch, Jimmy Dorian. You know the usual suspects. That's in my community. Yeah. Hey, whatever. It's all good. Yeah. But I'm there watching them, but none of them are helping me to cover this issue right here about New York City, about the mayor right here, which I think is out of control, has joined the establishment, right? And but you are actually willing to listen to me and help me to platform this and to get the message out. What puts you, right? Yeah, right. You would think that this community, what puts you on the forefront of this? Why are you listening when others are not? What do you think?
Well, I come, a lot of my political origins come from organizing and activist stuff. So it's like, if someone like you comes at me and says, "Hey, I've seen a lot of stuff on the ground. No one's talking about it," to me, I see my role in that situation is to signal boost, right? Like, I can't, because of my location, right? There's not much going on here at the moment. There's a pandemic, and so I don't have the opportunity to organize on a personal note, like very efficiently or effectively. And so like, I feel like my role in this scenario is to, if someone else has a scoop, I'll amplify it.
I
Um,
can't wait to return the favor. Honestly,
sure,
something like that is how you really build working relationships, and I am fucking excited. Yeah, we
sure.
said
I
we're gonna
also
show
just
how
want to
it's
say
done.
I
Can't
hate
wait.
Andrew
Yeah,
Yang. I
I
hate
will
Andrew
put
Yang.
in
I
work.
hate his fans.
Oh damn. Okay, so well, okay, that's a little bit funny because hold up a second, something's beeping at me.
It might be
Okay, I got
Discord.
I got a lot of devices here. Anyways, yeah,
You're surrounded by the NSA.
surrounded
They're
by
listening to
by
every
weird
word.
technology. What the? Maybe it's this thing. Yeah. Okay, let me close this out. I'm so sorry. You know what it is? I think it's my Discord. I have a new fresh um I just did a fresh install on that computer right
Sure,
there. So I'm redoing it for as an audio computer, yeah.
sure.
Anyways, so look, Andrew Yang right now, the thing is that but I was a fan of Andrew Yang too, yeah. So the thing is that I was actually doing a lot of work for him and this a group called Humanity Forward. But once again, right on the ground, the thing is that I found out that Yang has actually completely sold out to the establishment. And the thing is, you know who Grace Meng is?
I do not.
Okay, she's actually okay. So you know that probably the way that Tulsi became famous. I don't know if you actually saw back in 2016 when she actually stood up for Bernie and actually withdrew from the DNC, her vice chair position, to nominate Bernie Sanders. Do you remember that?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Okay, you should watch it. It's a good watch. Yeah.
sure.
Anyways, yeah. So after that, who filled her place? It was Grace Meng, right? So the thing is, if you have someone who's kind of like a upstart, you definitely want to replace them with someone who you know who's going to toe the line. That's
Sure.
Grace Meng. Yeah. So Grace Meng's in here. She's actually local to this area, and she's vice chair of the DNC, which is hugely problematic. Now here's the weird thing. Andrew, I actually had a video about this on my channel. Andrew Yang promoted UBI. That's his signature deal, right? That's why he's there, right? Yeah. Grace Meng has never supported UBI, and in fact, when Andrew Yang first started, she tried to cut him down because they saw him as an outsider. But now, since Andrew Yang, right, he endorsed Grace Meng, even though her opponent supported UBI. There's
Really?
there's affiliated. There's a group that Yang has officially called Humanity Forward, but then there's also Income Movement, right? Yeah, which was actually more related to the Burning people in the beginning. They existed back in 2016 before Andrew Yang came on the scene. But they also support UBI, so they're more like in the Yang camp now. You know what I mean? There's also another group that was called um, UBI for Congress or something like that. Yeah, I forgot exactly, but they basically died. They're basically gone. So the thing is that even though Income Movement had supported Mel Gagarin, right, whose campaign I actually worked to help with out here, actually what happened was that Mel Gagarin was promoted by Income Movement, but not promoted by Humanity Forward. There's another instance where a guy running for state assembly, which is how Grace Meng got her start, okay? They're trying to put someone else in named Ron Kim. The thing is that Steve Lee, just like you said, I was working on the ground with this guy. The guy's next to me at some of the biggest events that we ran for Yang, including They Can't Burn Us All with Will Lex Ham and, China Mac was there. Actually, it's funny because Eric Adams, who actually is running against Andrew Yang, showed up to show support for the Asian American community. Now don't they want to forget about that, you know what I mean? And Eric Adams, I guess he thinks he's being classy by not talking about that. But I mean, do you want to win? You know what I mean? Are you ready to save us from the establishment takeover that's going on here? So the thing is that Stephen Lee can't get endorsed because they got to give Ron Kim daps. You know what? I've been in this activist game like you for a long time. I could honestly eat that if I have to. But you know what? Put something down the line for us. You know what I mean? Like maybe he could run for city council, something like that. Give us the tools that we can to institute some change. But guess what? There's another candidate they have named Sandra Ung. I have evidence on my computer right now that will show that it was already called that Sandra Ung would be the within the community that knows. We knew she was getting lined up, and my guy cannot get into city council because in all the positions they're using that web to install in New York City all these corrupt machine individuals. And honestly, the Bernie, you guys filled up Queensbridge Park. If you guys come out in force, you guys can help stop this. But you guys cannot let Andrew Yang become mayor. He's going to be the mayor of New York City, overwatching Wall Street, and he's completely in bed with look at his thing with his support for the Israel thing. That's kind of an establishment move right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let me say that I've sniffed out Andrew Yang since when he first ran for president. I thought that he announced his run for president in like 2018, wasn't it? Like it was, or like maybe early 19. I
But
think it
to
was
his credit, didn't he
2018.
say some anti-establishment things? He
Yeah,
did
but
call.
the thing is, like, you have to look at these people's origin stories. Like, he came as like a CEO of like some sort of like nonprofit or something, which tells me he knows how the game is played. So it's like, I feel like, especially, and maybe you can disagree, but I feel like Tulsi Gabbard is also in this kind of category, where there's a lot of writing on the wall that obviously the classical establishment, like Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden wing of the Democratic Party, obviously that's on the way out, if not already out with this election in the rear view, right? So there needs to be like a new generation of establishment Democrats, right? Younger generation of establishment Democrats. And in order to the more populist kind of messaging is that kind of anti-war, like anti-establishment rhetoric, right? But when I first saw about Yang, what really upset me was his UBI plan, right? If you're going to run as a single issue candidate, right? UBI, really everything else, whenever you get asked on, it's like, oh, I'm not an expert or whatever. Like you said with Israel, he always said, well, I'm not an expert, but I support Israel or whatever. It's like, okay, nice question, Dodge, right? So if you're doing a single issue candidacy, why not make that issue the best possible version, right? Like Bernie Sanders, for example, campaigned on Medicare for all, right? Not Medicare for all who want it, not Medicare for America, not Medicare for some, not a public option. He campaigned on the furthest, like the best possible option. Whereas Yang's UBI plan, it had so many cuts to welfare programs. It had so many either you can be on disability or UBI kind of scenarios. He would go on shows like Dave Rubin or Ben Shapiro and kind of tell them that he purposefully watered down his UBI to get right-wing support. So I feel like that's just like, to me, that saw that this guy's not serious. He's doing something that is popular, right, and using certain rhetoric to position himself in a way so that he can just kind of be that newer kingmaker. That's the way I see it. And so from what you're telling me, what it seems like is he's just trying to position himself to be the kingmaker for the establishment in New York City. Would you say that that's correct?
That's an interesting take. Actually, when you talk about the one issue candidate, I agree with you and don't agree with you at the same time, which is kind of funny, right? So let's talk about that for a second. So the thing is that when you say that he's a one issue candidate, it's because I believe that was really a marketing ploy. He has
Sure.
many other ideas. Have you heard of something called democracy dollars?
Tell me more.
Okay. So democracy dollars is actually this idea that I actually like better than UBI. Actually, I really uh I do actually also see the possibility of the VAT tax as problematic, right? So
Yes,
we
me
have to
too.
be careful about that whole implementation right there. But I believe that UBI was really just a kind of a Trojan horse to kind of let himself in. By saying that I'm going to give you $1,000 a month, it's a real conversation starter. So when you said before, right, that you felt like his one issue as in terms of, was kind of like marketing. I agree with you, right? But then you said that like you felt that he should make that the best version possible, but really it's just a way to like get in the door. You see what I mean? So he doesn't
Yeah,
have to make it the best possible because he just wants to start the conversation so
sure.
people take him seriously. So from that point of view, I think it's okay. Um, and I do understand like coming from a more privileged background, he and also other statements that he's made as in terms of like being locked down and just being with the kids and, struggling. That's his struggle, right? Versus people who are being like, ready to get evicted. It seems kind of tone deaf.
He's
He is
also
lined
been
up for
doing, I
that.
just want to say shout outs to his, like, confusion tour of New York City, where he's, like, going into pizza places and, like, doing these bizarre photo ops that, like, anyone. I've never been to New York, but I've got a lot of friends that live there, right? And everyone just tells me this is the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen. Like, no one in New York speaks this way. No one, like. And so, like, to me, it just feels like he's trying to position himself to be, like, whatever, like, works in a specific scenario, you know?
He's playing the actually he's really managed by his team and controlled by his team. What was it? Erica, I forget her last name, but she's going to be coming up definitely big time. Zach. There's a whole crew that's I think Carly or something's her name. They've surrounded him and they do not allow him to interact with people outside of their bubble. They're like these consultants actually that I complain about in other things. They're actually controlling things behind the scenes. There's a whole, when administration comes in, there's a whole administrative staff that stays. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, budgeters, things like that, and that's like the quiet government that don't know about, the machine that's quietly operating all the time, that's keeping their people in. So this whole, the Andrew Yang thing, being able to sniff him out in the beginning. Look, I've been an activist for a long time, and it's very cool that I can recognize some of the things that you're talking about. It's cool that you're able to recognize some things here, and thank you so much for signal boosting. I appreciate it, right? But the thing is that people with Andrew Yang's background, he appeals to people who are also casuals, who do not speak our language, right? But he presents a more, I guess, TV friendly version, like sitcom version
Yeah,
of
like you said before,
yeah,
he's very marketable, right? Like
yeah.
he tries to market himself as like, oh, that goofy guy who wants to give you money. Like that debate that he went on, and like it was either at the beginning or the end. It was like, sign up to my website, and I'll give you like I'll select random people for a free UBI. Look, he sounded like a game show host, right?
That's a marketing play right now to make him seem
Absolutely.
inevitable. You know what I mean? They ran a poll. Who took that poll? Their private followers, right? It seems like he's winning, right? Yeah, nobody's contesting this. You can see that I'm regularly tweeting, right? His opponents telling them about problems in the campaign, but they don't want to seem confrontational. So, do they deserve to be mayor? Honestly, maybe nobody deserves to be mayor. They're all cowards who are really trying to play a political game versus, really suss out the truth for the public, which is but thank you for, being one of the ones brave enough to kind of handle this issue.
I mean, I like I don't have a skin in the game. I don't live in New York City, right? But so it's like for me, whatever happens, it doesn't affect me directly. But I mean, at the same time, again, I don't like Andrew Yang, so like that's why this is interesting to me. And then two, like obviously, I care about just people in general, and so if there is like you say like he's trying to become a Trojan horse to install
Oh,
like
that I
appointed
have a
government
laundry
positions,
list of
right?
troubling things that I can reveal to you right now.
Go for
Humanity
it.
Forward, actually, that organization that I told you about earlier, that's Yang's organization. There's a separate volunteer group called Humanity First Movement. Yeah, actually was a Humanity Forward Arizona that was started by a volunteer. It's at thousands of dollars. It cost them to get themselves incorporated so they could run a 501c4. That's actually going to be a PAC, right, that can fund and engage in political activity. They lost so much faith in Andrew Yang that they actually, they don't want to say it, but that group disintegrated. That group has dissolved. That's just the beginning of the problems. Yeah. Then there's also some NDAs right at the beginning of the campaign. I hope Yang Gang's watching this. You know that I warned all of you about those dumbass NDAs because Some of us worked in 2016 on the Bernie campaign. Some of us are also connected, right, to people. They were also in the Tulsi campaign too. By the way, did you work with the Bernie campaign closely?
I was only a volunteer, so I just went to multiple states to do canvassing and like field work.
Did they make you sign an NDA or anything like that?
Nope.
You know that did you get to hang out with the delegates or anything like that? People who
I
were
met a
trying to
couple,
become
yeah.
delegates? Did you try to become a delegate?
Nah.
Okay, but you knew the people who were going to be delegates, right? Because they're the ones
A
who were
couple,
like
yeah.
yeah. So did they tell sometimes like did they tell you about 2016 when they played games with the NDAs and did all
I
this
heard a
funny
lot
business?
about NDAs in 2016.
Yeah, and they increased it this time. They tried to put it into the now what they're trying to do is they're trying to put it in the caucuses. Not just they're trying to install it at the caucuses so you can't talk about what happened there. It's like, people are like, what the fuck is this? So
I think
the newbies at
anything,
gang,
like,
they
I
had
can
no idea.
understand why someone doesn't want people to speak. But an NDA is not how you accomplish that. You accomplish that with trust and building a community, right? The
Yeah,
idea that our election process, like, is going to have non-disclosure agreements just seems fishy to me. Whether it be the actual election, like, process, like caucuses, or just the campaigns. Like, again, I understand why you don't want things to leak. But at the same time, if you don't want things to leak, what you need is a well-connected community. You know what I mean?
yeah. Just so you know, yeah. I'm gonna tell everybody, Yang Gang, every single person that I talked about the NDA to, every single one of them violated the NDA to me. Yeah, every single one of them. Yeah, like because it wasn't in their own interest. They couldn't. Yeah, um, because it would damage themselves, and it's just ridiculous. You stop signing things that just because the popular, the in charge people say it's the right thing to do. Have a fucking brain and do it for yourself. Yeah. So there's that, right? You'll notice that in the marketing materials now they're not using locals. They're using models or some kind of like weird national, careerists. Um, and so my guy Stephen Lee, right? He's been edged out of all these positions. Um, and that's because they want to get their establishment people in. It's really disturbing. His whole marketing scheme, you're absolutely right about how he's like trying to utilize the friendly. That's I can recognize it from working with these Democrat types so long. You know what I mean? They're milk toast, kind of not really like fighting for it. You get what I mean? Do you think that AOC will end up because it seems like he's part of the establishment? You said there should be a new younger establishment. Do you think AOC is part of this new young establishment? Because that's often an accusation made by
I
a
don't
lot.
think AOC is part of that in any capacity. I think that she has shown that she's willing to compromise on certain things when like a compromise needs to happen, but she also will dig her heels in at almost every single juncture. I think that what happened right after she and Ilhan and Rashida were sworn in, I believe in 2019, with Nancy Pelosi trying to basically say that Ilhan should be censured and removed from committees for her like quote unquote problematic statements about Israel from like 8 years ago or something. Right? I think that the fact that they had each other's backs at that moment proves that they are willing to go against the establishment. Like one of their first things that they did in Congress was fighting against Nancy Pelosi. And then Nancy Pelosi triggered a bunch of racist attacks on her that Trump started using during the spring and the summer. So it's like, I think that they've proven that they're capable of weathering the storm. That doesn't mean that they're willing to, hold out all the time indefinitely until the best thing is possible.
That's cool. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's actually interesting, right? Because I feel like we have like a mirror view, right?
sure.
So whereas you're saying like Tulsi could be a deep fake, you're saying that AOC could kind of be more like, the honest, actor.
Sure.
And I guess I'm of the now. I actually, I'm just gonna ask you to do this for me, right? I will entertain the possibility that Tulsi could be a deep fake. The thing is that nowadays, right? Yeah, she's a little bit quiet, right? That's some like within my community, right? People a little bit restless about that. You know what I mean? They're like she could be doing more.
I
Um,
mean, most of what she's been doing is going on right-wing podcasts. Stephen Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, etc.
well, the thing is that, right? I get that, and I agree with you. Actually, also another thing that's interesting is that, which I know I took down the original Rockman video, but I will make this comment now, which I think is actually strange, right? You would think that with all her friends on Rockfin, right? Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Nico House, and Combo Couch, right? You would think that she would join Rockfin, but she chose to go with Dave Rubin instead on locals.com. So there may be some kind of split going on. There may be some kind of political for each other. Who knows what's going on? But you're right. She's going on more right wing shows. But I also feel like, because I was a Tulsi fan from when she first announced, I did see that left wing media often I felt was being unfair to her. So I don't feel like the right wing also they have certain things that they want to get from her too. So I feel like she's playing, she's just trying to do what's best for her, and when both situations are not really ideal.
Well, I think that there's also the situation where, again, I didn't see much of her Crowder appearance because honestly I can't stomach it. But she went on Crowder's show to talk about how like trans kids are invading sports and it's like evil and like the trans kids got to be stopped, right? And it's like, to me, again, if you're not even a congresswoman anymore, like at this point she doesn't have a job, right? If like you've got unlimited time on your hands to make the case for whatever political issue you want, if you're going on shows talking about the evils of trans kids, I mean, to me, it just shows that you're not a serious person. And that's just my take on it. Like, if she wanted to go on right-wing shows, right, and left-wing shows, and like you said, they're both giving pushback on a lot of things, at least she's being fair about it, right? But
I watched some of those. I don't
yeah.
remember if it was Crowder, but I do remember one thing that she said was that, she did not actually use the word trans in the legislation itself, but, I get that, trans people will be heavily impacted by the bill, so that's kind of not really 100%, you still have legitimate concerns about the bill itself, which I think are 100% fair. Yeah. I do think that she could have a more nuanced take, and I do agree that we in our last I took down, which is available on your channel.
You can watch it on my channel, folks. I don't take shit down.
What's the name of before they take it down? I feel you, but you're also on Hive, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have the links below. You know what I mean? Definitely. But shit, what was it talking about again?
You're talking about how Tulsi is terrible, and you're renouncing your support for her.
Yeah. Okay. Look. The trans issue. Maybe she could develop more on that. But we also agreed at our last conversation that it is logical for there to be some kind of rules in place, right, to protect the participants. So you had you had a separate idea where you were like, we could do it by weight class and also muscle density and things like that, right? A more nuanced approach, right? A more complete approach, which I think is, let's be real. Tulsi's not trans. She's not really part of that community. She's straight. She's a normie. You know what I mean?
Yes, she is definitely a normie.
Yeah. And being a normie, right? Yeah, being like being an Asian American male, right? How many racial groups have I joined that I knew had no real intent on helping Asian American males? That was never part of, right, the leadership conversation. Let's help black and brown people. But I knew eventually one day, right, maybe not even in my lifetime, right, we got to fight for it, and eventually we can get there. So I think that she has made progress on this particular issue, right, before she was actually saying straight up anti-gay stuff. She was against gay marriage, straight up, before.
Sure,
you know what I mean? That was her original position. But as she got to know people, and I would say that's actually, unfortunately, normal for most kids, even, straight up.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people that did not go after her in any capacity for what her statements were before. I usually judge people by what they do, like, in office and what they do now. So, like, if she were to, like, in 2 years from now do a rehabilitation and say, like, yeah, I really fucked up on this and I was flirting with right-wingers too much and, I realized that that's the wrong way to go, I'll accept that, depending on F at the time. I buy it as genuine.
I'm in the community, right? I'm in the community, and all communities have factions, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I will work with you to, she's a generally open person, and I think
gotta get her on above it all.
I think we can make headway on this. For real. Yeah.
I would love to get Tulsi on my show. Let's do it.
Yeah. I think it was unfortunate also that the bill kind of just got squeezed at the end. I think that also, like, I've been part of like those kinds of legislative bodies as well. Do you think that would be the really last thing that she would choose to put on the thing? You know what I mean? The people at the house, right, when they decided like which bills were coming up today, they decided to give her last fu at the end and said, "Okay, Tulsi, we're gonna make you go out on this. Good luck, asshole. Goodbye." You know what I mean? What's she gonna do? Say she doesn't stand up for the bill that she wrote? You know what I mean? It's her
I
last
can see
fu to
that,
Tulsi.
yeah.
Huh?
I can see that as a possibility, like just lobbing her a
You
grenade.
think?
But
I mean,
she
who? You
handled
know what
it
I mean?
poorly regardless.
Yeah, like, have you ever seen her do anything that dumb before?
I could probably come up with some examples, but
Let me hear it. Yeah, because honestly, to me, she's really impressed me with her intelligence, right? So, and her foresight. So make a move like this, right? Yeah, it seems like a setup to me.
well, what's also important to note is that she basically copied the legislation from Kelly Loeffler in the Senate. So that's another thing. She barely even wrote the bill. She just like kind of presented it in the House. She made like a
That's
House
good that you
version.
actually mentioned that. There may be some, right? There are some new reach outs to the Republican Party, quite a few. There may be some type of like motion in the background. There's some debate whether she should join the Republicans or not, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Within my community, right? Because they feel so betrayed by the Democrats about the way that they straight up, at the end, they lied and said she wasn't running when she was and things like that. You know about that?
No.
No, there's video evidence of that. I have that on my channel. There's huge, yeah.
Well, yeah, you
So,
can. We can talk about that, but let's try to get back onto the Yang thing,
yeah,
because that's kind of the central topic here.
I
Um,
do appreciate that. Yeah, I was feeling that myself, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
sure.
So look, the Yang Gang will ensure a new era of political power for the establishment. And let me tell you why it's so important in New York City right now. The thing is that New York City Council, because of term limits and because of the way that the calendar works, there's like a rotating cycle for City Council. This year, a majority of the City Council seats will flip. Not only that, but there will be actually 2 or 3 cycles where there will be a chance to get it right. So even if the left screws up, they will have another chance to reset the board within the next 2, 3 years. So not only is the mayor going to get set for quite some time, but also the city council. That means true control of the city is up for grabs right now. And nobody's talking about this in my community. Why do you think my community's isn't picking up my story?
I mean,
They're
I
just
don't know. I like. Do you know that many New York podcasters or media people?
there is status quo. I know my community isn't really thrilled about him for other reasons. Maybe are you familiar with him? I think his
Uh,
position would be more similar to yours.
yeah. I mean, I've talked to him a few times.
Oh, really?
I don't know him that well. But I'm aware of
I'm
his
tagging
existence
everybody.
and
Yeah,
vice
I'm going
versa.
at everybody. I'm tagging NYCDSA. I got connects in there. I'm interviewing every single candidate who's running for office. A lot of them are scared. A lot of them are scared to talk to me because they know my anti-Yank position, and they don't want to line up with what looks like to be a potential winner. But then, are you really fighting for the people? We're gonna find
That
out
yeah,
right now.
that's my
Pretty much
opinion
go.
too.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of the New York City race and all the fields of candidates, right? But like I can understand people making that pragmatic decision and trying to line up early to maybe see if they can grab a bite at the apple themselves. And that's really what the big problem with politics is that you have people that hold grudges. Like if we could just have a race and at the end of the race the winner's the winner and everyone's still friends, or even like they don't hold things against each other, the world would be a much better place. You know what I mean? But because people are afraid, oh, if I back the wrong candidate, the next 5 years of my life might be fucked up or whatever. Like people are just trying to like cover their own ass more than everyone else, and that really creates just such an unhealthy and corrupt dynamic, not just in New York City, but just everywhere.
I have the exact same. I literally say that, right? Yeah. In the video where I have on Grace Meng, I say, why would they support Grace Meng? Are they trying to say they're either saying A, that Grace Meng is the type to hold a grudge, right? Yeah. So it's funny that we see things. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm really looking forward
Sure.
to working with you. Now, you've helped me on this. How can I help you? What are there any issues that are working? I like to put in work for my people. Are there
I
any
mean,
issues
I
that I
don't
can help you?
have many issues that I would say I solely focus on at the moment. You know?
Can I just dip into something that I've just been like, you've been on my mind, Andrea. What's up?
Oh,
Is that all
sure.
right to say?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So look, the thing is that there's different issues that I could talk about, right? Coming from the Asian American community, right? Coming from Korean American, that I'm just, you know, experiencing differently from others. You know what I mean? Now, as in terms of like the Asian American community, I'll tell you straight up that there's no active actually Asian American activists that are really doing it right now, and I'm really disappointed by all of them. And I don't really look up to anybody in my particular community as in terms of a leader. Yeah.
Sure.
What about you're come from I guess the trans community, right? Yeah. Now the thing is that being a street dude and one who like looks out for the bottoms, I know often that trans people are treated the worst of the worst. They are often a community that's, people want to talk about racial goddamn trans justice is really, those people really have it hard, yeah?
Sure.
So are there any activists? I want to learn more about it. Who could I, or is there someone? Or
I would say that there's definitely an absence in leadership, similar to what you mentioned. Like recently, over the last election cycle, we had a bunch of like state senators and state legislators that were elected that are trans. But like one of the problems with a lot of the most popular trans people is a lot of them are Republicans. Like you look at like Caitlyn Jenner, for example. You can look at like Buck Angel. Some of these like kind of really classic trans icons are just Republicans, and they're kind of like in it for themselves. They don't really care about anybody else, right? They just want like their basic human rights and then fuck everything else, right? Whereas like again, like you mentioned, trans people are one of the most discriminated against in the country. Like during the Trump era, like Ben Carson being Secretary of HUD would enable basic discrimination against trans people. So like if any public housing wanted to say, hey, you're trans, that's kind of icky, we don't want you in public housing, stay homeless, they would stay homeless, right? Trans people are routinely, and queer people of all kind are routinely thrown out of their home, disowned by their family,
yeah,
right? So
and
like,
even when they pass the laws, they find a way to kick them out anyways.
Yep. And then like, so like, you have a situation where, not a lot of parents are going to get rid of their kid for being a certain race because chances are all the people in that family are of similar race, right? But like, a lot of families, especially in the South, will kick their children out for being queer, coming out as gay or, trans or whatever, right? They will kick their children out. And that creates this like extreme problem of homelessness, of people being, like, especially from young ages, like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, especially in this economy, especially in this pandemic, right? Yeah, sure, you're 20 years old, you're technically an adult, right? But there's a pandemic going on. Have fun getting a job, especially while being trans, right? Have fun getting a job while being trans in the South, right?
Like, what the things you're talking about right now, right? These are the kind of things that I want to learn more about.
Sure.
So you're right. A lot of the mainstream media, they're gonna prop up someone like a Caitlyn Jenner, like a celebrity, right? Yeah, who may not have fought for trans rights, right, for a long time, be able to like discuss, right, some of the deeper issues, maybe like you can or other, right? Is there anybody else that I could tune into, or maybe we should start having more discussions on those things? What I mean? I'd be down for that.
I would say I don't pay attention that much to everything. I try to dip my toes in as many different things as possible. But I've definitely noticed a lack of leadership on this within like trans activists. And I don't think it's because any trans activists are not doing their part. I think it's mostly that a lot of us aren't getting the time and space to break out in any sort of capacity to where we can get like a lot of recognition, right? So I don't think it's necessarily from lack of trying. I think it's just from lack of the available resources to even get to that point.
Hey, wait, quick question, yeah? Do you know, have you heard of someone named, he's a Bernie guy too, Socialist MMA or Fly Tie MMA?
I've heard of them, yes.
Oh, you know him? Yeah? He actually, I think,
sure.
He's a burner guy too as well. And he actually has a trans person on named Enigma, and he's got a huge platform. We might be able to really start a conversation on this and really get something cooking here. Remember we said we're going to show them how it's done?
Sure.
This is a very underserved community, and I would be proud, and I'm willing to help out on this. And, it's... People also come at me with this Asian American thing, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, because their conversation about it is just so uninteresting to me, or they're trying to be nice, I could tell, but it's not really, something that I'm looking for or need.
Sure.
So I don't want to do that to you either, you know what I mean? But if you're interested in a project like this, I'm totally down to put in my time and contribute. I'm
willing to organize with anyone that's willing to organize with me. So, that's kind of my perspective. If someone wants to organize, yeah, I'm down. Obviously I'd like to, get to know people first, and if there's problems involved or whatever, I'd like to get that handled.
Nick's all right. Yeah, we need to get closer, man. Nick, it's been a while, buddy. What's up, man? Socialist MMA. What's up, kid?
Okay. All right. I mean, Oh, DJ Elf has dropped out of the Discord call. Censored once again. Hello?
Wait, I
Hello?
lost you for a second. Yeah, wait, I lost you. Wait,
Get
where
your
did your screen
webcam
go?
back on?
Okay. Yeah, I lost you for a second. Wait, you just appeared back on. I gotta move you back over here. I gotta make you big again. Now
I
I
feel
gotta
like
click
Socialist
somewhere.
MMA just censored you.
He did, right? Yeah.
It's
Listen, the
unbelievable.
establishment's watching. They don't want us to work together. Wait, how do
Exactly.
wait, my camera shut off, yeah?
Yeah, just
Okay,
click the
now I just
button.
do you see my logo?
I see it. You just gotta click the button.
Okay, I changed the thing. Okay, I'm turning on the camera. Okay, look at that. Oh, look at that. Okay, wow. Okay,
Unbelievable.
so I'm back. Okay. Shit. So, yeah, it could be that or other issues. Actually, I want to work with you on a whole shit ton of issues. You said you're from where again? You're from
North
North
Carolina?
Carolina?
Yep.
Yo, I got some people in North Carolina. My boy, Vigilant Independent is with the Libertarians down in South Carolina. Libertarians could be a power add, right, as in terms of like making things happen. So,
I'm very
I'm fucking
skeptical of
excited.
libertarians, but again, I'm willing to organize with anyone that's willing to organize with me. So it's like it's got to be mutually beneficial. You know, we got to be on good terms. I would prefer not to organize with people that secretly hate me and vice versa. You know what I mean? Because we got to have that comfortable environment.
I feel you on that. I feel you on if people being fake, you know what I mean? I'm not really gonna tolerate that. But the libertarians and stuff, look, if they really have a problem, they got a problem. But this dude that I know is cool, and also, right, you might think that it's weird because they have this kind of like, we don't want government at all. So you might be like, how can they develop a policy that will protect us, right? Yeah, when they don't take care of, when they don't want any rules. But the thing is that actually it's interesting being anarchist. A lot of people I feel like in the burning community, right, they do not really understand anarchists as much, right? They're kind of like a smaller subgroup within that community.
Sure.
But anarchists answer a very valid question of how do you protect the rights and interests of minorities, right? You could have a majority that's, you know, oppressive against a minority group and it's still democracy, it's still socialism. So, you know, we we have and libertarians kind of also share that with anarchists and protect the rights of true minorities, which you definitely are. You know what I mean?
I mean, again, I'm very skeptical of most libertarians, but yeah, I mean, like, again, it is really the goal of anarchism is to establish a society without hierarchies, right? So if you establish a society without hierarchies, there's no such thing as a minority because there's, you know, everyone's on equal terms, right? So like that's the kind of grand vision, right?
Of libertarianism?
Of anarchism, libertarianism,
Okay.
you know, I can, you know, we can pontificate on that at another point. Maybe get a libertarian on the phone.
Yeah, but that anarchy thing is not truly attainable, right?
I wouldn't say
That
it's
state.
attainable overnight. That's a long-term project. It could be in our lifetimes. It could be.
You think we
you
can
know,
get rid of social hierarchy, really?
give us like 500 years, and I think so. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's cool. I think that's impossible though. I think it's also partly biologically wired within us. And is it right for us
I
to do
tend to
so?
disagree.
Does it have any use?
What? Getting rid of social hierarchies?
Social hierarchy, yeah.
I think so. I mean, well, social hierarchy just means that like one person has authority over another, right?
Exactly.
Like you can delegate. Like I'll take the example of the World Health Organization, right? You know, these are like some of the top medical doctors in the world, all working together to try to bring us
Top
the,
sellouts.
you know. But you know, the whole idea of having an organization of medical experts from across the world is a good idea. Does it mean that they should have power over our lives and should tell us what to do or else? I don't think so. But we have to be open to, like, again, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not going to be a doctor. Does that mean I shouldn't listen to doctors? No. It means that we should have the ability and the trust in one another as humans to delegate those tasks, right? To say, like, oh, you're good at plumbing. I don't know plumbing. Well, you're the plumber. Like, you know, I'm the gardener. We can have an exchange here. Right, and I think that we can do that on a grand societal level. I don't think we can maybe do it in your lifetime or my lifetime, but I think given 500 years combined with automation, technological improvements, that would get rid of a lot of like things like menial tasks, manual labor, that kind of stuff, right? I think with a lot of that, I think we could have a society that's completely without hierarchy.
Social hierarchy is actually a valuable tool that can be used in the classroom setting, that can be used for instruction for children, right? Or people
I
who
wouldn't
are like,
classify that as a hierarchy. I would say that you're the child, you're here to learn. That person is the teacher. Like, I don't necessarily think that that means that they're better than the kids. I mean, they've been alive longer. They've got things to, they've got wisdom to instill. You know what I
Well,
mean?
social just means community, right? Yeah. So, as in terms of like, saying like prestige level or maybe like, level of being accepted as a human, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Often, right? People we're not treated as human beings, which is really whack, right? But as in terms of social hierarchy, the pure definition, right? Like, so I guess we're really trying to like really hone in on, the specifics
I
there.
would say it's more so in terms of like, authoritative capabilities. Like, we don't need a president that says, I declare this drug illegal. And if you use it, you go to jail. Like
What
that
happens if
kind
I
of
go off and
situation.
just start shooting people in the face? You know what I mean? The government has the right to be able to kill me.
I mean, that's a complex question. I think you forfeit your rights to participate in society when you start to damage society for no reason. And society has the right to defend itself. So I don't think
I
that
might
we
have a
need.
reason, but that reason might not be accepted by society, and society has the right to defend itself.
Sure, yeah. But I think that we can find ways in a society to prevent you from going ahead and shooting people. Like, if you, like, a lot of crimes, right, are committed because of desperation, right, because of threats of starvation, right? A lot of people are sent to jail because they, rob people because they have no other ideas or, methods of, employment or, whatever, right? And we have cultures around kind of propagating those ideas. But I think if we
Maybe
have.
I'm mad because that girl didn't like me, so I'm gonna go out and get mad and shoot people. You know what I mean?
Well, then
Like this,
I think
how are
that
you gonna solve
society.
that with socialism?
That's a complex question. I don't think we
You're
can do
not.
that right now. Like, that's the thing is
Yeah, you're
like
not. Yeah.
the society that I'm talking about is something that is achievable via technology and in the future. Like, these are problems that we're plagued with right now. I think the closer we get to achieving the socialist future, the more that we'll have to work with to have these discussions. So right now, I'm more concerned with defunding police so that they stop, occupying certain neighborhoods, poorer neighborhoods, mostly like people of color. They don't need to have 8 patrol cars in black neighborhoods. They don't. They don't need to
It's
arrest
quite
people for.
amusing, right? Yeah, because the thing is that some of your harshest critics on like from my side, right? Yeah, say the exact same things as you because they're also fans of socialism. So they also it's kind of funny to hear that, like you repeat to me, right? You're repeating their talking points, yeah?
Sure.
And it sounds like you two have more in common, which is hilarious, yeah? So that's just it's funny to watch this in real time, yeah? I
I
guess
mean,
you get what I'm
yeah,
talking about,
I
right?
understand. Yeah, I mean, my
Yeah.
thing is like I make a lot of enemies because I don't care about forging like manufactured relationships in media spaces. Right? I think a lot of people in media spaces will play the game. I think that they will say things they don't mean to get ahead. I think that they will hold back criticism of fellow media people to get ahead, to like try to ride off of their fan base. Me personally, if someone says something stupid, I will say I think that's
Yeah.
stupid. Right? That doesn't mean you're
Yeah.
canceled. That doesn't mean I hate you forever. It means I want you to change your opinion because your opinion is pretty fucking stupid. Whereas a lot of people are afraid to do that, and I think it's similar to what you said with regards to Yang. To wrap this conversation up, in a nice little bow tie. But I think a lot of people in general are just afraid to speak out against people for fear of grudge holding. Like, again, a lot of people hold grudges against me, right? I don't really hold grudges against anyone. If someone wants to reach out and say, like, we got off on the wrong foot or whatever, let's try to work it out, I'm willing, right? But a lot of people aren't, and I think that that's a big problem when it comes to just society in general. And I think we as a species are capable of moving past that. Do I think it's going to happen in our lifetime? I'm not convinced, but I think give 500 years, maybe 1,000, right? I do think that we can grow out of grudges. I do think we can get over some of this stuff.
Yeah,
And
and I want
maybe
to
I'm just,
apologize
yeah.
for some people in that that are in a community that I affiliate with. I'm gonna definitely say it's not all of them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Definitely some of them are vocal about being displeased, whatever. But that's not what I stand for. You know what I mean? So don't think that that applies to all of
I don't. I don't. I'm
yeah
just
that
saying
that
that as
group. You
like
know what I
a
mean? Yeah,
generalized. I don't want to name names
yeah.
here, so it's just a generalized statement.
I get that. Yeah, and right, it's not she's not naming names, and I get that too. Yeah, because the thing is that it's not about we're not about going to war, hurting people, right? We will not say things just to be to try to be a human being, but we're not doing it for reasons of self gain or trying to make some kind of political calculation. We just come in real with it. So
Sure.
that's fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing more content with you. I think we can make some real good headway. Yeah, I'm gonna tweet you and Nick in a hot moment, and let's see if we can make
Okay.
some headway on that particular
We'll
issue.
see
Yeah,
how that goes. I'm
we
looking
will.
forward to that.
Me
But
too.
yeah, do you want to wrap up this recording here?
Yeah, I'm thinking about wrapping it up. Really, as in terms of the
Let's
Yang
wrap it
stuff,
up.
the conversation is just getting started. I
Sure.
don't know if you seen my MVP Duncan video, right?
I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, just yeah, yeah, a little. That thing is fantastic.
You gotta
Do you like that kind of stuff?
send me the video and I'll check it out again.
You didn't see the one with Michael Jordan dunking on Nick Bond
I
and all that
I
shit?
don't I don't think
Oh,
so.
you've been missing out, girl. You don't even
I
know,
miss it.
yeah?
I miss everything. I'm so busy.
Yo,
It's
there's gonna be a Yang
unbelievable.
Gang. Yo, Yang Gang. I know you watching this. Yo, there's a version on you coming out real soon.
It's coming.
Yeah, so stop fucking around. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, get at your boy. All right, that's how I'm gonna end it. Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
All right.
I'll see you. Watch the video. It's fucking slamming. You're gonna have a fucking
Send me a
great
link.
time.
I'll check it out.
Enjoy the ride. See ya.
All right.
All right, so I just hit stop recording. Anything else you want to say before I check out?
Well, I should say I'm still recording.
Okay.
So
Well, thanks for being awesome. You
you're
were
being
awesome. Yeah.
exposed right now. You just got
I don't give a
exposed.
shit. Expose
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Whatever.
All right.